Well, Senator Abubakar Kyari is still with us in the studio. He's a member of the Senate Committee on INEC and used to be a former chairman of the same committee. Just before we went on break, you were talking about the remarkable points of this particular amendment to the 2010 Electoral Act. Yeah. And just before we went on break, you're talking about how tax clearance shouldn't be one of them. But for some people, they might think that tax matters are quite serious. If you wish to be, political head or, wish to govern a people, you should be showing, that you have been in compliance with tax matters, shouldn't you?
Yeah, well, if what we're saying here is the Constitution clearly spells out qualification, one of which is not the tax clearance.
But don't you think it is important enough for it to feature?
Well, it is. I think the onus is on the parties now to have to field responsible candidates, and they should do their proper screening. But what we are saying is there are conditions where clearly qualifications are stated. So I think we just need to stick on that and qualify candidates based on the constitutional requirements.
Well, quickly before we go to Lagos, what are the remaining 2 points?
The third one is, of course, the death of a candidate during an election, which I have explained earlier. And then the fourth one is also the transmission of instantaneous transmission of results, which would avert the issue of electoral violence. We believe that that would greatly reduce, if not maybe eradicate, electoral violence.
Okay. Well, let's quickly take some questions from my colleagues in Lagos.
Failure of a card reader, and you've mandated that they adopt other means that can be used to try to resolve the issues. Having looked at what has happened in the past, would you say that this is a step in the right direction if the card readers fail?
Well, the card reader, we have also made a proviso in the law that says that if the card reader fails, up to 10% of voters in a particular constituency, and if that 10% can significantly change the results of that election, then INEC should suspend election in that particular polling unit that had failure of the card reader, and call for another election 7 days and rectify the problem with the card reader. This, in a sense, really is to make sure that INEC would employ credible devices, technological devices, in the process of elections.
That's where the concern seems to lie at the moment, having the integrity of the process to be top-notch, just so that people don't have to question it. Time and again, the card reader has been brought to the heart of this. And you have recommended that when election results are being done from the polling units, they should be electronically faxed to the collation centers. What happens at that point at the collation centers? Shouldn't you have gone further? People wonder that the results be, since they're coming in real time, you begin to announce them real time as well?
Well, I think the announcement is left to INEC to announce at the appropriate time, but the collation of the results should be done instantaneously. We looked at 2 main collation data centers. One is the constituency collation data center. That is to say, if it's dependent on which election, wherever that particular constituency's election, where the center is. And the other is the national data center at the national headquarters of INEC. So what we are saying here, we have there will be three results, and all the three must be the same. That's one at the polling unit, and one at the constituency collation center, and also one at the national headquarters. And by and large, I think we must admit that technology is rapidly changing, and I think if we adopt the right technology, I think we should be able to move ahead.
So, Senator, in the event that those three do not tally, what happens?
Then you do a cross-check and see where the problem is, and find out, because it's the presiding officer that transmits the results. So I think if three do not tally, then I think the commission should do due diligence, and that's where we have very stiff penalties in the event that proper transmission is not made.
Yes, but yes, you talked about the penalties, but you know, politicians can go to court for anything for them to get victory. So didn't you think that there was a need to say, look, it's possible that three of them may not tally for one reason or the other, and the penalties notwithstanding, if three don't tally and two tally, should they be admissible, and which two should that be? Shouldn't that have been specified, you think?
Well, the law also says that what the presiding officer has on the authenticated document of INEC should also tally with the one. But we believe that both the collation center and the national data center would have the same results. But in the event that the presiding officer doesn't have, then that should be looked into and investigated. But we have clearly spelled out that the two must tally.
Okay, one other key thing that usually happens, I mean, we've got a lot of complaints, it's at the collation center. We've seen that, yes, you took care of collation of results. It's now mainly electronic. It's going to be transmitted, and then this will help determine the real results. But what happens to collation officers? Because there are reports that some of them actually collude with some officials to falsify those results.
Well, at what point? Because the collation officers usually are at the collation centers of that particular constituency, so they are not at the polling units. Here we have a situation where the presiding officer at those polling units transmit the election results, the accreditation results, and the election results to a central database. So the collation officers are just to receive what have been transmitted. And since there is another database in the national headquarters, I think the collation officers have limited role in trying to manipulate those results.
Now, you also have as one of the specific points that you have in this new reforms when you're looking at the candidates, the electoral officers also, that's the INEC officers, and you have said that anyone who is found to belong to a political party will face some sanctions. Your sanctions goes as much as 5 million naira or a jail term or both for them. Are you not putting too much concentration on the INEC officials as the senators?
I think it's not to say that whoever is a member of a particular, if you fail to declare that you have an association or you are a member of a particular political party, then that applies. It's not that members of political parties are barred from becoming members of INEC. What we said was, if you fail to declare, that is to say, if you don't, hide your membership, and it's later revealed, then those sanctions will be meted on you.
Well, Senator, quickly, I'm going to ask you this one about, the politics in the Senate right now. Your colleague, one of your colleagues, he's from the same Borno state as you are, has been suspended. What's your take on his suspension?
Suspension by any means is not, even if at work or any otherwise, it's not a good thing. But I think there are steps to rectify and make amends. And I think the governor of Borno State was here over the weekend and has met with the Senate President and other stakeholders in the move to make amends and see, the end of this.
Would you say he was justly suspended?
I'm not. I don't want to speak on that because, like I said, there are moves to make, peace moves. So I don't want to make any statement that would jeopardize that Senator Mohamed Ali Ndume, not only that he was my former Senate leader, but also he was my chairman of INEC before the suspension, and also a friend and a colleague from the same state. So I wouldn't want to make any statements that would jeopardize the peace moves that was initiated by my governor.
Okay. Senator Abubakar Kyari, who is Chairman, Senate Committee on Defense, former Chairman of the INEC Committee and currently member of the Senate Committee on INEC. Thank you for coming on
You're
so
welcome.
nicely.
Thank you very much.
The program will continue shortly. Do stay with us.